Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Hope everybody's doing well today. I am going to do a little series for beginner junk journal people because I have had a lot of new subscribers, and a lot of the people that are new to my channel are new to junk journaling, and this hopefully will help them. I am going to do a journal that to me will be easy, but not like a no-sew type easy. It's going to have 2 sewn-in signatures, maybe 3, and it will show you how to make a fabric cover, and I'm going to do it in a way that you can make a really nice journal, but it is forgiving and it helps you learn how to sew in multiple signatures and that type of thing. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think I see a lot of questions out there, and a lot of people, you know, there are a lot of basic 1 signature journals or no-sew journals, and I've done a lot of those, but I want to kind of move it to a point where you can really make a really nice journal and have very basic skills, and also do it in a way that has a theme, but it looks cohesive, and but yet not too matchy, that kind of thing. And so I want to kind of go through that whole process. It is going to be in a shabby style because I think that is a popular style, at least for people on my channel. I do a lot of the gypsy stuff, but that is a little bit more involved. So I think for a beginner that might be a little bit more overwhelming. So I don't really want to do that start to finish. Anyway, this is going to be a start to finish thing. My thing with these journals, a lot of times when I do start to finish, what I find is people will watch maybe the first video and then the flip through, but the ones in between they don't really watch. So I'm going to try and condense them as much as possible and get to the important parts of it, and then there are some things that'll just be done off screen and then I'll just tell you about it. But I'm going to try and get to the really important parts as quick as I can. And you know, as I said, condense them as much as possible. I am going to be using this kit, which I found, and I was on a guest design team for TaylorMade Journals, but I'm not. This is just I actually love a lot of her stuff and I buy it anyway. But she has a kit called La Vie en Rose Junk Journal Kit, and I'm going to show you that kit. And I think that this would be, for someone that is new to junk journaling, a great kit because it gives you everything that you need, and of course you can always add other things, but it gives you everything that you need pretty much to make a pretty nice junk journal. So I'm going to go through the kit and just kind of show you. This page is, I print these on kind of an ivory cardstock and then an ivory paper, parchment paper. Now I have a few linen pieces that are off-white, and I do that for certain kinds of paper, but it does make it not as bright. So what happens then is that you end up with I don't know, a more vintage look, I think. So that's, realize that if you get these and you put them on white, they'll be a little bit brighter. Okay, this is I guess these are envelopes, and these are journaling cards, and these are just some words that come with the kit. Oh, and I will put the link in the description box so that you guys can go see it if you want. This had some pockets in it and some more little journaling cards in there. Here are some journaling cards that come with it. This is a beautiful, and this I need to reprint because I didn't fit it to size, so it's kind of going over a little bit. But these are just some wonderful fussy cuts. I mean, that's great that you get all this because you always need that kind of thing when you make a journal. Here are some more pockets and some other things that you can cut out. Some library cards. This is some more things that you can use. It's like a coin envelope. And there are some other things that you can definitely use. What I love about all of these extra things, they're not just copies of the page that they did in different shapes. They're all different designs, so your journal will look cohesive, but not everything matching. And it's really, that's why I think this would be a great kit for a newbie, because it gives you everything and kind of shows you how to put it all together, and it will help, I think, you follow a theme throughout the journal, and give you all the elements that you need. And here's some more. These are some checks, and these are some labels that you can put on there. Again, I didn't do it fit to size. I'm going to have to go back in and reprint some of these. Look at this beautiful page and this picture. I think we may end up putting that on the cover. And then look at all of these. Are they not beautiful? They're gorgeous. I'll probably reprint that on matte photocopy paper because it comes out really beautiful. Not that that doesn't look bad, but I'll probably reprint it. These journaling cards here. And then look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? You see what I'm saying about all the different cutouts and things, and then they're all different, but yet they go together and they go with the theme. And I'm like, wow. I just think for a new person, that would be so good for them, or even a person that's been doing this for a while. It will help you really put your journal together. Here's some beautiful pockets and some tabs and some cards, and she always fills up the page. So that's gorgeous. And then look at that. This is a file folder, and then here's another one over there. They're just absolutely gorgeous. Then some long journaling cards there. I think it goes that way. And I couldn't even believe this when I saw it. This is a French envelope, and I did this on linen paper, and it has the fold lines and everything for you to fold it so that you can have a French envelope or in your journal. And then here is a letter. I put that on linen paper too, to include. Isn't that gorgeous? And then here is an envelope, another French envelope that I put on linen paper. Here are some envelopes and some other cutouts that can easily go in the journal, and they're just beautiful. Here is another envelope that goes with the kit. And this is all one kit, guys. This is not separate add-ons or anything else. That's why I think if you're new to junk journaling, this would be a great kit. Now I'm going to show you the pages, and they're absolutely beautiful. Here's one. Again, I did this on parchment paper, ivory parchment paper. On the back of these pages, I printed some coffee dyed paper that I have. Now she has some separate kits with coffee dyed paper and also avocado dyed. This one is from Tsunami Rose that I already had, so I used that, but that's what I'm going to use on the back of these. But I'm going to show you the fronts just to show you what there is. I really love this. It's so pretty. I have it upside down. Yeah. It's this kind of muted rose look. Gorgeous. I might have them all upside down, it looks like. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love it. Now I have the border around mine, and that I left the border purposely because I'm going to be tearing the edges on mine. I want that kind of torn look. So in order to cut off as little as possible of the actual page, I leave the border and I'm gonna tear all around it. No, maybe I did have it upside down. I don't know. I guess that's how that one goes. Beautiful. That one has some lines on it. And then here's this page. It's gorgeous. And of course you could use these back to back on your journal, so you wouldn't have to do the coffee dyed on there, whatever what you want to do. Isn't that beautiful? Here's that one. And then here is this one. They are gorgeous. And I love that her pages are all very different and unique. Similar but different, you know what I mean? So that is it, guys. And so that whole thing is the kit. And I wanted to show you that because when I start off this series, if you want to, you can get this kit. And I wanted something kind of springy, but I didn't want it overly, spring. I wanted it to be kind of a bright but romantic type thing. And so I am going to be using, let me get it out. This is some, I don't know if this has an up. Yeah, I think it does. Here we go. This tapestry that I got, I guess it was last year. And I just think this would be really pretty. It has a lot of the pink and the yellow and the other colors in it. So I want to use that. And it's a heavier weight, but not super, super heavy. And then for the lining, I want to use, this is a chintz, it's like a cotton that it's kind of shiny. Cotton for the inside lining. I want to use that. And what I'm going to use also with that is I'm going to use a file folder, and you can use any size. It doesn't have to be a legal size. I have both of these here. And I'm also going to use a little bit of Tyvek. That's this, this stuff that you use for a mailer. That's what Tyvek is. I have some that I bought, and I'm going to use that to kind of reinforce the spine a little bit. Let's go ahead and start our cover. What I want to do first is I have a file folder here, and I am going to get it ready because we are going to glue our material to this file folder to give it some stiffness, but yet some structure, and I think it makes it just the right you know, softness and squishiness, but still have a little bit of structure and it's not too flippy floppy. So first of all, what I do is I calculate how much room I need in my journal. Okay, first of all, the height of my journal and the width, or a lot of it is dictated how big your pages are going to be. So if you have one of these pages on one of these papers, if you did it borderless and you didn't trim anything, you have an 11-inch sheet of paper, which if you fold that in half, that's 5.5 here, 5.5 here, and the height is going to be 8.5. Okay, as a rule, what I like to do is add a 1/4 inch above my papers and a 1/4 inch below, and then about a 1/2 inch over here. And the reason I add a 1/2 inch here is because a lot of times your papers will end up protruding out a little bit with your signatures, and it could be up to a 1/4 of an inch by the time you get done, and so then you end up still with a 1/4 of an inch. So you'll have a 1/2 inch, your cover will be a 1/2 inch wider here than here, a 1/4 inch taller here, and a 1/4 inch taller here. So what you do, that helps you calculate what you need. Okay, so we know that we're going to need approximately 11 inches, okay, because of the 5.5 that we have here. And if we add a 1/4 of an inch on each side plus the extra 1/4, so which would be a 1/2, so that's 11 inches plus a 1/2 inch on the front and a 1/2 inch on the back. That gives us 12 inches. And then we decide, well, how big do we want our spine? And I want to do 3 signatures. I think I'm going to do 3 signatures because I think that would be good to teach people how to do that. And then probably about 10 pages each. So I think I'm going to do like a 2-inch spine. I think that would be plenty big for this journal. So we're going to make a 2-inch spine. So we already have 12 inches that we've decided we needed for our cover, and then we add a 2-inch spine to that. That's 14 inches in our width. Our height, you know, we've got 8.5, but by the time I trim this down, it's really going to be more like 8.25. So if we add a 1/4 of an inch on the top and a 1/4 inch on the bottom, that gives us about 8 3/4. Okay, you could call it 9 inches and go with that, but I'm going to do 8 3/4 on the height, and then I'm going to do the 14 inches on the width. So I take my file folder, just a regular file folder, and I am going to do 14 inches, and the way I do that is 7 and 7 is 14. So since this only goes up to 12 inches, I just keep it folded in half, and I cut my 14 inches like that. Just do 7 inches. I make sure I cut it all the way through. And you could do this with your ruler. You don't need a cutter. You could just measure it and then put a line there and cut it. But it is easier with a paper cutter. See if that cut all the way through. It did. Alright. So, oops, I'm losing my scoreboard here. Okay. So that gives us our width that we need. Now our height, we're going to do 8 3/4. Most of the time I probably do it about 9, but because I'm tearing these pages, I'm going to do it 8 3/4. If I wasn't tearing them, I'd probably If I'm using the whole thing, I would just go ahead and do it 9. Okay, and always save your extra pieces. So this is the size of what we need to use for our journal, okay? Because that will give us our spine, and it'll give us our height and everything else. The other thing that I do is I take my scoreboard, and you don't have to do this. I just do it for my own, for me. I take this, and if you see, we're right at 7 inches there. And I know that I'm going to have a 2-inch spine, so it'll be 1 inch going, let me make sure we're doing okay here. Okay, so we have 1 inch. We have our 7 inches here, and we have 1 inch. I want to go 1 inch this way and 1 inch that way, and that gives us our 2-inch spine. So I'm going to go over to here, right at the 6. I'm scoring at the 6, and then I'm going to score at the 8. And this is just so that I'm kind of marking where my spine starts, because on this type of a journal, it's not a definite here's your spine, because it's soft and it'll end up being curved. And then I know that my signatures are going to go in here, so I move over. Here's your 6 inch, here's your 8 inch. From my 6 inch mark, I go in to 1/2 inch, and you'll find on most file folders it'll already be marked there, but I mark it anyway. And then from my 7, I go 1/2 inch, or from my 8, I go in 1/2 inch. And what that does is that gives me 1, 2, 3 marks there, and it helps the spine turn the way that I want it to, because I want it kind of be rounded. And also, when it comes time for me to do my journal, I can kind of tell where the middle is and these sides here, and I will go ahead and reconfigure that later to decide exactly when I sew in my spine. But it just kind of helps mold the spine and gives it kind of a rounded corner, okay, like that, okay. It kind of makes it kind of curved. It's not necessary, but I like to do it that way. The other thing that I do is I cut some Tyvek, which is the packaging or mailing. It's this stuff. If you get packages, you know, it's the same material. It's very hard. You really can't rip it, and it reinforces your spine. And I have some here that I cut the exact width of my spine. It's a little short of the length, because you don't need it the whole length, because you're going to be sewing in your signature. Will be here, here, and here, but you want it to cover that, and you want it basically the width. So I do that so I can glue that in there for reinforcement. And you can use duct tape, anything you want. And what I will do on that is I will come in and go ahead and score the middle of that, and then 1/2 inch over, and then another 1/2 inch. And I just do that so it follows that same curve. And that's just to make my my spine curve. Okay, and then I just kind of fold that a little. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this on. And that will just reinforce my spine, even though I am using material. And honestly, with material most of the time, you do not need to add Tyvek. It's usually pretty strong. I just do that as a little extra insurance policy. And I just take a little glue and I glue that on. I'm running out of glue in this one. I'll probably have to get another one, but nothing real hard to do, and it's just an extra reinforcement, and I usually do it in almost all my journals, even the small ones or whatever. I just like to reinforce them so that they last. And then I just take this, and I'm just going to line this up with that middle thing there, and I'm just kind of putting it in the middle, and I'm just going to glue it down. Alright, so that is pretty much how I do the file folder portion of it. Okay, the next thing I do is I take my material. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, oh, that's the inside. I want this to be the outside. I'm going to do the outside first. And I may use this hemmed edge here because I'm going to put trim on here anyway. So I may just go ahead and use that. I like the raw edges, but since I'm going to put trim here, I'm probably going to go ahead and leave that. Or maybe, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm using my tacky glue, which I'm out of shape, but for this, and I'm just going to go ahead and put tacky glue all over the back of this, okay? And I'm going to use my little spreader that I have. Let's take big blobs of it. I like using the tacky glue a lot on this just because it gives you some leeway and some time. And I might need to get another bottle out, but I think this one will work. I think I have enough in there to do it. Put it on and let it dry overnight. Let my cover dry overnight before I sew on it, because it's not really great to have your sewing machine going through wet glue. And I make sure I have plenty on the spine. Make sure you have plenty in the middle because you don't want any buckling. If you are not going to sew around your journal, which I am going to sew around it, but if you're not, you want to make sure you get plenty of glue all the way around the edges. I'm not that concerned with it because I'm going to be sewing around it. So that is not a big concern for me, but I do want to make sure I get enough glue that it doesn't have little pockets where there's no glue and the material's kind of floating around or anything like that. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put my material on there. And the great thing about using, I really want more of this tree to show, so I get it down a little bit lower. The tacky glue gives you a little bit of time, whereas some of the other glues you don't have much time at all. Okay, let me pull that down. And I think I got, yeah, I wanted that. I wanted to have the raw edge on there because I like the raw shabby edge. And even though there's a fold crease line in there, you could iron it, but I'm not going to because this will flatten out. You can take your bone folder and go over it or anything else you have and just kind of go like that. Make sure the glue is adhering everywhere. If you have any spots that you need glue, then you can pull it up and add more glue. Like I think right there it needs a little glue, so I will put a little bit more right there. Okay, and you know, this is a heavy material, so it will absorb a lot of that glue. So you may have to go back in and add some in spots or whatever. And if you didn't get the edges really good, you can always go back in there and do those. As I said, I am going to sew around it. Okay, so now that I've done that, I go around the back. I can see on some of these edges they definitely need more glue. But as I said, I am definitely going to sew around it. So, but I probably want that down a little bit more right there. Okay. It's just the edges are curling a little bit, so there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to use my pattern that I've cut that I know is straight. I'm going to go ahead and just cut around it right to the edge and just use it as a pattern to go all the way around it. And yes, there will be a raw edge, and when I get done with this, it'll be frayed a little bit. I am going to put probably trim around a lot of it, but some of it will be frayed, and that's the look I want. If you wanted to and wanted it hemmed in, you could definitely cut it off here and then, like, you know, have like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch and then sew here all the way around and then put your other piece on and do the same thing with it. I don't ever do that because I like this shabby kind of look. And that would be a little bit too neat for that, but if you want to do that, you certainly could. I don't make my journals that way. And the sewing around it keeps it from fraying too much. I want it to fray a little, but not, you know, too much. And if you have to go back in, usually I do my best to get it right the first time, but if you have to go back in and trim, just go back in and trim it, you know. So what happened here? Oh, that piece kind of came apart. That's what it is. Okay. So you just really want to trim around it and get it kind of as perfect as you can right to that edge. And as I said, I let mine dry overnight before I sew on it. That way it's not mucking up my sewing machine, because it will be, by morning it'll be completely dry. So I usually do these, let them sit at night, and then the next day I go back and mess with it. Okay, so that is that part of the cover. Now I want to do the inside, and I'm using this cotton material. Alright, so now that we've done this piece and we made sure all the pieces are, you know, you don't want any big bubbles or anything in them. The other thing is you do not have to use material for this. You could definitely use scrapbooking paper or even papers from a kit or anything like that. You would have to piece them in here. Scrapbooking paper is only 12 inches and this is 14 inches. So that's why I usually always use some sort of material, and I like the texture of stuff like this. Go to thrift stores and stuff. This I paid, I don't even think I paid $4 for this huge piece of this tapestry, and you can usually find like parts of window curtains and things like that, even, you know, pillowcases, and you can make a lot of journals out of that. Anyway, I like the weight, I like the feel of it, the texture of it, and plus you can get the width that you want, okay? And you don't have to worry about when you use paper, it can split and all those other things. So what I'm trying to do is I want people to be able to make a journal that isn't going to have a lot of issues, but it's going to end up looking really amazing when you're done, okay? All right, so now that you've done the outside, okay, the inside I'm doing a cotton. And what I usually do, honestly guys, is that I usually have a heavyweight kind of an upholstery type fabric on the outside, a lighter on the inside, or if I have this great piece of cotton material, which I actually am going to be doing some journals like that where I want to use this cotton on the outside, I will put the upholstery weight on the inside. But I like to have, you know, those two. I don't like usually to have two upholstery weights unless it's a lighter weight, because it gets too thick, or too, I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't have the squishy feel that I want it to have. So I usually use a lighter weight, like a duck cloth or something on the inside. This cotton, I want it, I like the cotton, but I don't like it to be too thin. I don't want you to be able to see through it too much. This I think is going to be fine because it's not too thin. Okay, so I get it to the approximate size, and because this is a lighter weight, I will probably, on this, I will use like a Beacon 3-in-1, or a glue that is not going to probably buckle as much. This is the same as Beacon 3-in-1. This is from the dollar store. They're foam and poster board adhesive, if I can ever find it. It's hard to find. But fabric tack. I don't like using art glitter glue because it dries so fast. It doesn't give you much time to work with it. And on my covers, I like to have a little time to shift it around. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And I think I'll just take this off and kind of spread my glue around. Now the problem with this glue is it does dry a lot faster. Oh, this isn't open all the way. It's got that plastic seal on it. There we go. So you have to kind of work a lot faster with this than you do with the other glue. Now if this was a little bit heavier weight, I probably would go ahead and use my my tacky glue. It's cheaper, it gives me more time, but because this is a lighter weight and I don't want it to show through, I'm going to use this. It's an acetone based glue, so what it does is it dries faster, and I don't have to worry about any kind of buckling or seeing through it or anything like that. It just works better. And sometimes when I'm doing a video, I tend to use this glue when I would normally use tacky glue, just because it dries faster, and I need, I just need the glue to dry faster. So I'm just going to go, and as I said, I'm not that worried about the ends because I know that I'm going to be, I've got too much glue over there. I'm going to be going ahead and sewing on the edges. So, and it does get pretty thick pretty quick and dries pretty quick. So alright, I think that's good. I got it the spine really good, and it's drying really quick, so I need to get this on there. And it does have a stripe, so I'm going to do my very best to not make it too crooked. So let's see here if there's a way I can kind of line this up. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, okay. So now all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to kind of rub on it, turn it over, and rub. Right? And that'll get it nice and flat and get the bubbles out of it. Make sure this side is all rubbed down. Okay, I think that's on there pretty good. So then what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same as we did before, and we're just going to cut around it right to the edge, and this is where we're going to try and get it, as perfect as we can, and go all the way around. Now if you wanted to, you could have sewn on pockets on the inside before you put this in there. You would sew it where you want them and then glue it down. you know, and sew them on. What I do is I make my pockets and I sew around the pocket and then I glue it onto here. The reason I do that, and I don't always do that, but I think for a new person it's very hard to get them in there straight and line it up. So it's better to just add your pockets later. When you've done it enough, it's not as difficult. But if you're new, my thing is you can make it look sewn in and it will hold just as well with the 3-in-1 glue or a good glue as it will with the sewing. And you can sew around it if you want to. You don't have to sew around it, but if you want to, you can sew around it and it'll look like it's sewn in, and it's not as difficult a process as trying to sew it on the inside and then glue this down. Okay, that's just what I think. For a newer person it would be easier. So now that we've done that, we are just going to let this dry. Again, just go over it, make sure there's no little bubbles or anything like that. And if you're only going to be gluing, make sure you glue all the way around the edges really well. And what I would do is I would take your glue and go right around the edge of this material so it doesn't fray too far, because when you sew it keeps it from fraying. But you want to make sure you put glue on the outside a little bit if you don't want it to fray too much. Okay, and also, you know, you can always put trim with glue and that will stop it too. And we are going to add trims and things to this, but that is the basic construction of our journal cover. And like I said, I let this dry overnight, and then the next thing I do is I sew around it, and I may go around it twice. A lot of times I just do a zigzag all the way around it. Most of the time I end up putting enough trim and stuff on there that you don't even end up seeing the sewing, but it keeps it from fraying more, and it holds all the edges together. After that, if it frays a little bit and stuff, I'm fine with that. I will ink sometimes. I will just go around the edges and I will ink when I'm all done, just in case any of the cardboard is showing, you know, through the top. But by the time I put everything on this, you're just not going to see all that much. So it'll end up being a gorgeous journal cover, and it, you know, it's not going to be that difficult. As far as what we're going to do next time, we will go ahead and finish the cover. We will go ahead and do the inside pockets. We will put the lace and the trims and all that kind of stuff on it, and get all of that done in the next video. The next video, I want to go ahead and put the papers in. I showed you some of the papers in the kit, and then pretty much I'm going to add coffee dyed papers, ledger papers, those kind of things, the different kind of papers you put in a journal. I'll show you those. I'll show you how I divide them up, and we'll actually sew them in the signature. And then I think, you know, what I'll do is I will show you how I decorate some of the ephemera. Okay, just not all of it, because, you know, just to give you an idea of the types of things that you can add. And I've done a lot of that on my channel already, not specific to this journal, but you can always go back to that. And that's a hard thing to show people, you know, but I want everyone to see some of that process. I'm going to try and get it in just 2 more videos, because I'm telling you, I noticed every time I do one of these start to finishes, my viewers wane off. So I want to make sure I get to that portion before everyone is like lost interest. Okay, so let's get to try and do it in 3, and then I will do a flip through video, which will be a 4th video. Okay, Alright, so that's it, guys, and that is part 1. Just showing you the kit that I'm using. Of course, you could use any kit. You could use scrapbook paper. You don't have to do this. But I just thought it was a great kit for a beginner or anybody, really. I love it. I mean, I got it for me to use, and I wasn't even going to do this video, so I thought it was great. But you know, if someone wants to get a kit, and if you don't have a printer, you can buy the kit and you know, have it downloaded on your computer and just you know, have it printed at a print shop and just put it on a thumb drive or something, and you know, have them print it for you, you know, if that's what you want to do. That's just, or if you have a friend or somebody or relative that will print it for you, you could always do that. Okay, so I like I said, we'll be back, and hopefully we will get everything accomplished that we want to next time, and I will see you then. Bye.